My mother simply said, "You're just envious of your sister. She's successful. You'll never be like her." I burst out laughing and told her, "Then let the perfect daughter take care of your bills now. My mother has taken me to court." Hi Reddit, I don't know if this is a vent, an open letter, or what the hell. I just know I need to get it out, because if I keep it in, I'm going to explode. I'm Gustavo, 34 years old, I work in systems, I live alone, normal life. Nothing out of the ordinary but my story with my family. That's another story. Look, my whole life I was the one who didn't bother anyone, the one who didn't speak loudly, the one who didn't do drugs, the one who studied, worked, didn't break anything. My mom, on the other hand, is in love with my sister Alicia. It's always been like this. She was the star, the pretty one, the extroverted one, everything I wasn't. And me? Well, at least he didn't turn out to be a delinquent, my mom would say between laughs. That's how she introduced me. You know what it's like to grow up feeling invisible? What it's like to do everything right and still feel like you're never enough. Because she could miss school and it was because she was stressed. I missed a day with a fever and it was stop exaggerating, Gustavo. But well, you grow up, right? And you think it's over, it's kid stuff. Until you see that the pattern continues. My sister never really worked. Digital entrepreneur. Translation. Upload stories with expensive bags and glasses of wine. And my mom goes, "Look how divine she is. She's a businesswoman." Me? Meanwhile, paying for the gas, the house repairs, the taxes. Once I sent her money to fix the roof and she said, "You do this because you know you haven't achieved anything truly important. Do you realize?" It wasn't a joke. She said it like nothing, as if I owed her something, as if she were Elon Musk and I was a failure with a keyboard. And you know what's the sickest thing? I kept helping anyway. Because she's my mom. Because you have to be there. Until one day I said no. It was a few months ago. She asked me for money again and I said, "Ask Alicia, she's the one with the business." Period. And that's when everything exploded. First silence, then anger, then victimhood. The usual. But the worst came later. I get an email from the bank. Alert for a loan secured by my mom's house. Excuse me, I go to the bank, I ask, they show me the papers. Alicia mortgaged the house without telling anyone. My mom had supposedly given her power of attorney to do paperwork years ago, and she used it to take out a giant loan. Obviously she's not paying it. They're about to foreclose. You know how I found out? Because 1,000 years ago they had put my number as a secondary contact in that damn email. That's how I found out they're about to be homeless. And now my mom calls me crying, tells me I'm her only hope. My only question is, when the hell was I her hope? When I won an award at school and she didn't come to see me because Alicia had a play. When did she tell me she was never proud of me? When I told her I got promoted and she replied, "Well, it's not that much. There then, now I'm important." That night I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling with my cell phone in my hand, watching the audio where she cried. But she wasn't crying for me. She was crying for the house. She was crying for what she's losing, not for what she's already lost. And the truth, Reddit, am I such a bad person for not wanting to help her? Am I a bad son for feeling like if I give in this time I'll never get out? I'll keep being the emergency plan. The invisible son who's useful when everything falls apart. And I don't want to anymore. I'll tell you how it continues because it got worse. Spoiler. She took me to court. Yes, my mom. Me. Yes, it wasn't a joke. She sued me, her son, for family abandonment. And no, it's not an exaggeration. In this country there's a law, half old, half gray, that says that if a parent is in a vulnerable situation and the child can help and doesn't, it can be considered abandonment. And of course I work in systems, I have a more or less decent salary, I live alone, I don't have children, so I'm the perfect target. I received the notification on a Tuesday. I was coming from work, totally shot. I enter the house, leave the keys, take off my sweatshirt, see the envelope. I open it. Cold coffee next to it. I read lawsuit for breach of family duties and below her signature, my mom's. I stared at that paper for I don't know, a whole minute. I didn't cry, I didn't yell. It was as if the world went mute. The only thing I felt was a strange mix of anger, sadness, and relief. Yes, relief. Because deep down it was like permission, a sign, a way of saying, now yes, now speak, now tell everything. You don't have to protect anyone who never protected you. I got a lawyer, a total genius. The first meeting I spent talking for like an hour and a half. She just listened with a serious face without interrupting. When I finished, she looked at me and said, "You have to tell this everything, even what hurts. Especially that." And that's what I did. The day of the hearing, I'll never forget it. My sister didn't even show up, obviously. She wasn't going to tarnish her Instagram image. My mom? Yes, she entered the courtroom with a cane. A cane she's never used in her life. But there she was, hunched over, vulnerable, with the face of a broken grandmother. A show. I felt nauseous. At the same time, the judge was young. She had that "this is going to be a bomb" face. My mom spoke first. She cried a lot. She said I was cold, selfish, that Alicia was having panic attacks, that she couldn't be alone anymore, that the house was in danger. I listened to her without saying anything, but inside I was boiling, and I was also trembling. Then it was my turn. I stood up. My hands were cold, but my voice was clear. "Your Honor, for more than 15 years I supported my M. In silence. I paid bills, repairs, taxes, I fixed an entire kitchen, all without anyone knowing. I did it because I stupidly believed that someday I would see something resembling pride in her eyes. But that never happened." Pause. Nobody said anything. Instead, I received phrases like, "I've never been proud of you. I grew up feeling." Alicia took selfies on the beach and she was the star. I killed myself working and I was the one who at least didn't do drugs. It was hard for me to continue. My throat tightened. Once I won a reading tournament at school. They gave me a diploma. I ran home to show it to her. You know what my mother did? She threw it on top of the refrigerator and said, "We'll see later. I'm busy." She never read it. It got stained with oil and she ended up throwing it away without a second thought. I was 10 years old. It broke my heart. Long pause. A strange silence could be heard, a dense silence. I was never a son. I was a resource. And when I dared to say no, what did she do? Speak to me? Ask me why? No. She sued me. My lawyer presented the evidence. Audios, screenshots, transfers, everything. Even one where Alicia said, "If he doesn't help, we're going to pressure him the hard way." The judge called for a recess. I went out into the hallway and took a deep breath, as if after 20 years someone had loosened an invisible rope around my neck. My legs were shaking, but not from fear. From release. It was like dropping a backpack full of stones that I'd been carrying since I was 12. We returned. The judge came back in with a serious face. She read the verdict. Lawsuit dismissed. But not only that. It is recorded that emotional manipulation and abusive use of economic resources by the mother towards the son was detected. My mom didn't say anything. She just stared at the table. Not a tear, not a word. I looked at her one last time and understood something I never wanted to accept. She never loved me as a son, only as someone useful. And now that I wasn't useful to her, she wanted to punish me. But no more. I left the courthouse and I felt something I had never felt in my life. Peace. After the trial, I thought it was over. I thought that with that I'd close a chapter, that I could move on. But no. 2 days later I get a message on Instagram, which I don't even use, really. A journalist. "Hi Gustavo, I read your case. I work in a media outlet that covers issues of family abuse and emotional manipulation. Can we talk?" My first instinct was to delete it. I thought, it's over. I don't want any more trouble. But then, I don't know, I remembered a particular night. I was 15 years old. Alicia broke a very expensive lamp playing inside with a ball. I was in my room doing homework when Mom found the disaster. She didn't even ask. She yelled at me. "What did you do, Gustavo?" I tried to explain to her, to tell her that I wasn't even there. She told me not to lie to her face, that I was always clumsy. It didn't matter what I said, it was always my fault. That feeling stayed inside me. So I thought, what if this article reaches another kid who's going through this? What if it helps someone else? I said yes. We talked on Zoom. I told her everything. I showed her audios, messages, evidence. The woman listened to me with a face as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. In the end, she said, "This is not just your story. This is going to make noise." And it did. The article came out 3 days later. Title: The Invisible Son Who Said Enough. The Story of Gustavo. Below in large print, my mother said she was never proud of me until she needed me to save her house. My sister mortgaged the house in secret, Explosion. Viral. Networks. People sharing it, commenting, writing to me. More than 70,000 shares in 2 days. But what touched me most were the private messages. The same thing happened to me. Thank you for telling it. I thought I was the only one. Now I understand everything. You're brave. I still can't cut ties with my mom. I understood something there. It wasn't just me. There are an absurd number of people who grew up like this, juggling for a little bit of love that never comes. In the midst of all that chaos, my cousin writes to me. Years without talking. Now I understand everything, Gus. I'm sorry I didn't see how they treated you before. I support you. I didn't know what to say. I just put thank you. But not everyone was thankful. My mom wrote me an eternal message full of poorly acted guilt. I can't believe you exposed all this. Family matters shouldn't be aired like this. What did we do to you that was so serious that you had to humiliate us publicly? You know what came to mind? A rainy afternoon. I must have been 9 years old. I was coming home from school alone, all soaked. I forgot my jacket. Mom opened the door, looked at me and said, "Again embarrassing me?" She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't hug me. She scolded me because the neighbors could have seen me like that. "That's what they've done to me all my life," I replied. "The destruction started a long time ago." And I didn't read what she answered. Alicia also appeared. A 5-minute audio crying. "I can't go out. Everyone is attacking me. You had no right. I just wanted to help us all. But you want to play the victim. And then what hurt me most? You were always the gray one, the boring one. And now everyone believes you. I was the strong one, Gustavo. I was the strong one." I turned off the phone. I stared at the ceiling and another image came to mind. Me, 17 years old, last year of high school. I told Mom I wanted to study video game design. I loved it. I spent hours drawing ideas, characters. She laughed. "Design? That's not a career. Study something serious like Alicia does." I ended up getting into systems because it was serious, because it was safe. She never asked me again if that made me happy. After all this, I asked for leave from work. I took a few days off. I went for a lot of walks. One afternoon I passed by the house where we grew up. It was closed up, windows down, dirty judicial review sign on the door. I stood there for a long time. I saw a kid go by on his bike, a lady walking her dog. Nobody looked at me. Nobody knew I was the son who no longer existed. And yet, for the first time, I knew perfectly well who I was. After everything went public, after the trial, after my sister's crying audio, something changed in me. I don't know if it was maturity, anger, clarity, or all of it together. But what I do know is that I didn't care about pleasing anyone anymore. I wasn't that 12-year-old kid waiting in an empty auditorium for his mom to come see him anymore. No more. And with all that media chaos, you know what happened? Companies started writing to me, startups that had read the article and wanted to work with me. A guy from a consulting firm told me, "If you could survive your family, you could survive any CEO." I laughed my ass off, but I accepted one of the offers. It was to lead a development team in a new mental health app. Perfect fit. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, meaning 7 subway stops from my house, my mom and Alicia were sinking. The house went into foreclosure. Alicia couldn't pay a single installment more. The digital business she promoted so much was literally smoke. They closed her account for debts with suppliers, and the banks had her marked in red. My mom, homeless, went to live with a distant cousin. I found out because that same cousin wrote me on WhatsApp. "Your mom is bad, very depressed. Can't you come see her, even for a little while?" I didn't answer. And not because I hate her, but because I'm not going to put the rope around my neck again so they can say once again that Gustavo is always there. While all this was happening, I, for the first time, dedicated myself to myself. I started therapy twice a week. I resumed drawing, which I had abandoned since Mom told me it was useless. I bought a new, more comfortable desk. I set up my space, my place. One Sunday afternoon, walking through a park near my house, I saw a mother applauding her daughter who was learning to ride a bike. The girl fell. The mother picked her up, cleaned her knee and said, "You're a genius. You know how brave you are." I went to a bench and burst into tears like a child. Not from sadness but from relief, because I understood that I had never had that. Never. And yet I'm still here. Alicia wrote me again. Another audio, shorter this time. I know I messed everything up. I just wanted to tell you that I can't anymore. I miss you. I miss when you didn't hate me. I listened to it. I didn't answer. Because I don't hate her. I just don't want to be part of that circus anymore. Recently, I gave a talk at a university about emotional burnout and family boundaries. They invited me after reading the article. Someone asked me, "And how do you know when it's time to let go?" I thought for a second and said, "When you realize that continuing to endure no longer does you good. It makes you an accomplice." A year has passed, a very long year since that day. And if you ask me just like that, yes, I'm fine. Not perfect, not zen, but fine. For the first time in my life. Today I work as a technical leader in a mental health startup. Yes, ironic, isn't it? From being all burned out and manipulated by my own mom to working on a team that helps others not go through the same thing. And you know what? I'm doing well. I'm earning well. I have decent hours. And I work with people who don't make me feel like crap for existing. Last week, one of my colleagues told me on a call, "Hey Gus, it's a pleasure working with you. You take care of everyone without yelling at anyone." I laughed, but then I thought about it. No one in my house ever said anything like that to me. Never. Also, for the first time in years, I have real friends. Not work acquaintances, not people who only write to me when they need something. Real friends. On Fridays we get together to play PlayStation or have a beer and talk about life. And the craziest thing? I don't have to prove anything to them. I don't have to earn their affection. We're just there. And yes, there's a girl. I don't want to say much yet, but her name is Lily. We met at a talk about emotional health that I gave at a university. She works in graphic design. She's calm. She has no problem talking about what she feels, and she really listens. Sometimes she tells me, "Gus, you're worth much more than you think. It's just that you were surrounded by blind people. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to rush anything. But when I'm with her, I feel at peace. And that's already a lot." And on the other side, my mom and Alicia. Well, each one on their own. My mom still lives at that cousin's house. Sometimes she sends random messages as if nothing happened. She recently wrote, "Do you want to come for dinner this Sunday? I'll cook your favorite food." I didn't answer.
Alicia, no idea.
They blocked me everywhere after the article. A couple of acquaintances say she's working on something very random. I don't care. A few weeks ago I passed by the house where I grew up. Now there's a remodeled house with flowers at the entrance and new curtains. The family came out. Dad, Mom, 2 kids laughing. One of the kids looked at me and asked, "Did you live here before?" I said, "Yes, it was my house. Now it's yours. Take good care of it." He smiled at me and went back to playing. And I kept walking. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I just smiled. Calm light. And there I thought, I didn't lose a family. I lost people who never treated me like part of one. And I gained something better. Peace. The desire to live. And for the first time, love. Healthy love. That's all, Reddit. Thank you for reading me. If you made it this far, maybe this story isn't so epic. But for me it was everything. And if you're reading this and you feel like nobody sees you, I swear you're not alone. Sometimes family is found outside. And sometimes you make it yourself. Final post. To those who supported me, to those who criticized me, to those who remained silent. I read the comments, hundreds. I didn't think they would affect me so much. I had already told everything. It's over, right? End. But no. Because a part of me still has that burden inside, that little voice that tells you, maybe you exaggerated. Maybe your mom wasn't so bad. Maybe you're the problem. And when I read comments that say you're resentful, you're not going to be able to live with that guilt. You're playing the martyr. That little voice activates and wants to tear down everything I've built this year. But no, I'm not going to let it. Because no matter how many doubts I have, there are things I don't forget. And I didn't invent them. They happened. Like that time I came home crying from school because a kid had hit me. My mouth was swollen. My mom said, "And what did you do to make him hit you?" She didn't hug me. She didn't ask me if it hurt. She just assumed that somehow I had asked for it. And that's how it always was. Everything bad was my fault. Everything good was invisible. So yes, the mean comments hurt me. But not more than everything I've already taken before. And this time I'm not going to shut up. I also saw beautiful comments from broken people like me. From boys and girls who said, Thank you for writing this. You gave me strength to walk away. I also grew up feeling like Plan B. I cried reading this because I saw myself reflected in every line. And to those of you who understood me, thank you. Thank you for making me feel less alone. Thank you for showing me that I'm not the only one who breaks down inside every time they're told. But she's your mom. You know what's the thing? You wait so long for them to love you that when you finally cut the tie, you don't know who you are. Because you spent your whole life trying to be what they wanted. And suddenly, when you're no longer under that control, you're left empty. I'm filling that emptiness little by little with small things. A job I like. Friends who don't judge me. A girl who listens to me without wanting to change me. And yes, there are still days when I wake up with guilt. But now I have someone to talk to. And that for me is a miracle. So, if you're reading this and you're afraid to set boundaries, to walk away, to cut ties with that family that only uses you, I swear you're not a monster. You're a person who's tired of living for others. And that's not bad. It's healthy. It's necessary. And if no one has told you before, I'll tell you now. You don't have to keep breaking yourself to be loved.